Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 3 college football rankings. So, briefly going over last week's rankings and what those teams did in Week 2. Last week, at number 10, I had Penn State. They beat Bowling Green 34-27. 9 was Utah. They beat Baylor 23-12. 8 was Missouri. They easily beat Buffalo 38-0. 7 was Alabama. They beat South Florida 42-16. 6 was Ole Miss. They destroyed Middle Tennessee 52-3. 5 was Notre Dame. They were upset by Northern Illinois 16-14. 4 was Texas, who dominated against Michigan 31-12. 3 was Oregon. They beat Boise State 37-34. 2 was Ohio State. They beat Western Michigan easily 56-0. And 1 was Georgia. They destroyed Tennessee Tech 48-3. So getting into this week's rankings, at number 10, I've got Penn State. So they remain at number 10, although they didn't play very well against Bowling Green. They won just 34-27 and actually trailed until the middle of the third quarter. But the Penn State offense was pretty solid with 34 points, and quarterback Drew Allar was okay with 204 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Tight end Tyler Warren had a big game receiving with 8 catches for 146 yards. But as it usually is, the Penn State run game led the way offensively, as they had 2 players with 100 rushing yards. Nick Singleton had 13 carries for 119 yards and a score, and Katron Allen had 14 carries for 101 yards. Now, the Penn State defense wasn't very good, allowing 27 points and 375 yards of offense, but the defense did come up with a couple big turnovers late in the game, and while it wasn't a good game for Penn State, it wasn't pretty at all, they remain at number 10, but they just barely remain in my top 10. Ninth, I've got Utah. So Utah is similar to Penn State. They won, but it wasn't pretty. They beat Baylor by a score of 23-12, but the offense wasn't anything too great. Quarterback Cam Rising actually left the game with an injury, and he hurt his throwing hand, but it's believed to not be a serious injury. But before leaving the game, Cam Rising was actually pretty solid for Utah, going 8 of 14 for 92 passing yards, and was responsible for both Utah touchdowns. Now, while the Utah offense didn't play the greatest game, their defense was great, allowing just 12 points and 3.6 yards of play. But after a win over Baylor, they're at number 9. Number 8, I've got Missouri. So they beat Buffalo 38-0. The offense was good with 38 points and over 500 yards of offense. Receiver T.O. Weiss had a big game with 13 catches for 149 yards. And the Missouri defense was good as well. They still haven't allowed a point on the season after back-to-back shutouts, but they allowed just 3.3 yards of play and 169 yards of offense. But Missouri did what was expected against Buffalo. They're at number 8. 7th, I've got Oregon. So I'm dropping Oregon from number 3 to number 7 after they won, but it was another close game. They barely beat Boise State, winning 37-34 on a walk-off field goal. Now, Boise State is a very good group of 5 team. I would argue they're probably the best group of 5 team at the moment. But after a close game last week against Idaho's an FCS team, and now this week against Boise State, I decided to drop Oregon in my rankings. Now, the Oregon offense actually scored points this week, putting up 37 points. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel had 3 total touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing. And receiver Evan Stewart had a big game with 5 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown. But this time, the Oregon offense was good. The defense wasn't that good. They allowed 34 points and couldn't stop the run, as Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty ran wild for 193 yards and 3 scores. But on paper, Oregon is one of the best teams in the country. But they need to play that way. They haven't showed that yet, and until they can show it, I've got them at number 7. Number 6, I've got Tennessee. So Tennessee jumps all the way into my top 10 at number 6 after they demolished NC State, winning by a score of 51-10. But Tennessee dominated every aspect of this game. The offense was great with 51 points, and quarterback Nico Iamaleava was good with 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, although he did throw 2 interceptions. And Tennessee running back Dylan Sampson was great with 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he was a part of a great Tennessee run game that had 249 yards and 5.7 yards per carry. And then the defense for Tennessee was also great. They allowed just 10 points, but really they only allowed 3 points because the only touchdown NC State scored was a pick 6. But the defense allowed just 2.9 yards of play and forced 3 turnovers. Tennessee, after a dominant win over a pretty good NC State team, they're all the way up to number 6. Number 5, I've got Alabama. So Alabama moves up to number 5, but that's really just a result of me moving other teams down. But Alabama beats South Florida 42-16, but the game was actually a lot closer than the score may suggest. As Alabama led just 14-13 heading into the fourth quarter, but they used a huge fourth quarter to outscore South Florida 28-3 in the final quarter. But the Alabama offense ended up with a pretty good game. Jalen Milroe was great with 4 touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 rushing. Alabama ran for 199 yards as a team, and true freshman receiver Ryan Williams was good again with 4 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. Now, the Alabama defense wasn't great, allowing 16 points and over 300 yards, and were especially hurt on the ground, allowing 206 rushing yards and 4.5 yards a carry. But Alabama still got the win in convincing fashion, even though it took them 3 quarters to get going. They're at number 5. Number 4, I've got Ole Miss. So Ole Miss moves up to number 4 after their 52-3 win over Middle Tennessee. The Ole Miss offense was great again. Jackson Dart had 371 passing yards, a touchdown, and also a rushing touchdown. And Ole Miss running back Henry Parrish was insane. He had 165 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns on just 14 carries. But the Ole Miss offense is one of the best offenses in the country. They've definitely played like that in the first 2 weeks. Ole Miss defense was also good, allowing just 3 points and forcing 2 turnovers. I've got Ole Miss at number 4. Third, I've got Ohio State. So Ohio State enters at 3 after they demolished Western Michigan at 56-0. The offense was great once again with 683 yards of offense. Quarterback Will Howard threw for 292 yards and a touchdown, and the Ohio State run game was insane. Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson both had 2 touchdowns, and Ohio State as a team ran for 273 yards and 6 touchdowns. True freshman receiver Jeremiah Smith was great again with 5 catches for 119 yards and a touchdown. And then Ohio State's defense was great, allowing 0 points and just 99 yards. But Ohio State dominated, and they're at number 3. Number 2, I've got Texas. So moving Texas up to number 2 after a convincing 31-12 win over the defending national champions, Michigan. But Texas dominated this game from start to finish. The offense was great, putting up 31 points, and not really seeming troubled at all by a good Michigan defense. Quinn Ewers was great with 246 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Texas's team had 389 total yards of offense. Then the Texas defense was great. Now, while I don't think the Michigan offense is too good, Texas did do a good job of slowing down a good Michigan run game, holding them to just 3.7 yards a carry, and they held Michigan to just 12 points, but half those points came in garbage time. But Texas, after a dominant win on the road against the defending national champs, they're up to number 2. And number 1, no surprise, it's Georgia. They dominated Tennessee Tech 48-3. They did what you would expect Georgia to do against an FCS team. Carson Beck threw 5 touchdowns. Georgia also ran the ball well with 6.9 yards a carry. And the defense was good, allowing just 134 yards and 3 points. Georgia, after a dominant win, they remain at number 1. And my updated college football playoff predictions. So this is interesting because a lot of potential playoff teams didn't look that great, but here are my updated college football playoff predictions. My top 4 remains the same, but Notre Dame is no longer my 5 seed after they lost to Northern Illinois. My 5 seed is now Texas. Oregon is now my 6 seed. Kansas State at my 7 seed. Tennessee is now in my playoff prediction. I think they'll make the playoff because they look great in their win. Missouri is now out. I've got Tennessee in at the 9 seed. And Notre Dame I have as the 11 seed. I do still think they'll make the college football playoff at 11-1, but I now have them at the 11 seed instead of the 5 seed. And the final change I made, I've got Boise State at the 12 seed, being the Group of 5 conference champion to make it, instead of Memphis, because Boise State, we saw they're able to play a good game, compete with Oregon, and Oregon's a really good team. But Boise State, they've got a great offense with running back Ashton Jeanty. They're a great team, and they're my new pick to make the college football playoff from the Group of 5. But those are my Week 3 college football rankings and my updated playoff predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any other upcoming videos. I do my best to put as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.